What's up, guys? My name is Crescent, and sending thousands of dollars to someone you've never seen or met before can be pretty scary. I mean, we all have an uncle that's the son of a Nigerian prince, right? Well, I'm gonna try to calm your nerves by showing you several options on how you can safely pay your supplier so that your money is protected against fraud or scams and you can sleep better at night. I'll also point out a few things you should be aware of when dealing with suppliers and what the best practices are. I also have a bonus at the end of the video on how you can download a free contract template that you can use so that you can have all of your bases covered. Okay, so when you've decided on a supplier and negotiated all of the terms for manufacturing your product, they're going to expect some sort of payment up front before they'll start production. If this is your first time dealing with manufacturing, don't be surprised if they ask you to pay the entire invoice up front. As with any business, it's in their best interest to collect the entire amount upfront. However, it's not in your best interest to do so. Remember, when it comes to business, you always have to watch out for your own back. No one else is going to do that for you. Although it's rare to encounter nefarious people, but perhaps I'm rather cynical, if you paid the entire purchase order upfront, you lose all of your leverage. If something were to go wrong, such as your order is taking longer than agreed upon, or there's a problem with production, your supplier already has all of your money, so they may not be as accommodating or incentivized to take care of you. So it's common practice to pay a small deposit upfront, like 30 to 50%, to get the production started, and then pay the remaining balance once the manufacturing is complete. However, I want to point out that if you're working with a supplier that you don't have a rapport with, I highly recommend not paying the remaining balance until a product inspection is done. If the inspection passes and your products meet your quality standards, then pay the remaining balance. Inspections aren't expensive. They only cost around $150 to $300 depending on what you want done. It's a small price to pay to protect your investment and for your own peace of mind. Now, when it comes to the method of payment, it's important that you understand how each payment method works. Suppliers will most likely want you to pay them by wire transfer, also known as a bank wire transfer or TT, a telegraphic transfer. This is where you will send money directly from your bank account to their bank account. And from your supplier's perspective, this is the best and safest form of payment because it has the lowest fees, and once the money is deposited into their bank account, that's it. You can't do anything about it. That means if anything goes wrong, you have no means of recourse. There's nothing you can do to get your money back. This is why I don't recommend ever paying by wire transfer unless you've built up a rapport and a good working relationship with the supplier. If it's the first time or your first couple of times paying the supplier, then avoid paying by wire transfer. What I recommend in this case is to pay by credit card or by PayPal. Using your credit card or PayPal gives you protection. If anything goes wrong, you can always call up your credit card company and dispute the charges. This is the same thing with PayPal. They offer what's called buyer protection. Ideally, what I suggest you do is to double up and pay with PayPal, but use your credit card as the funding source, not your bank account. That way, if you need to file a claim, you can file with PayPal, and if for whatever reason PayPal denies your claim, you have a backup with your credit card company. Using PayPal isn't free though. Unlike a wire transfer, where it's typically a fixed cost of around $10 to $40 for a transaction depending on your bank, PayPal fees can get quite high, especially when it's an international payment. As you can see here, if you make an international payment, the fee is 5%. So if you're sending like $10,000, you're paying $500 in PayPal fees alone. And the thing is if you're sending $10,000, your supplier is only going to receive $9,500 of it because PayPal is going to deduct those fees from the original amount. That's why suppliers may not want you to use PayPal, or they're going to want you to pay that fee. So if that's the case, you'd have to actually pay $10,500 to use PayPal to cover the fee. You can always negotiate with your supplier to see if they're willing to split the fee with you though. I've also had suppliers deny splitting the fee the first time, but on future orders, they'd be willing to split the fee or they'll cover it. So always talk to them and negotiate. And a pro tip here, when you're making your payment with PayPal, you have the option to pay as sending to a friend. Now, it may sound enticing because there's no fees, but do not use this option. If you use this option, you no longer get any payment protection. As you can see here, if you use the pay for an item or service, you're covered by the purchase protection. And one thing to note, is most suppliers will accept the payment in US funds. However, if they don't, be mindful of the foreign exchange rates. I'll go into more detail on this later. Okay, now another option you can use to pay your supplier is with Alibaba's trade assurance. This is basically an escrow service where Alibaba will hold the funds in a trust until both parties are satisfied with the transaction before releasing the funds. You have several options available to you on how you can pay with trade assurance, as you can see here. You can pay with a credit card, wire transfer, or Western Union. And you can also see there's also associated fees with the form of payment that you use. And again, like with PayPal, you should use your credit card here so you have a backup with filing a claim if you need to. And if you do use trade assurance though, there's a contract that you and your supplier will fill out. Make sure that you document everything that you've negotiated with your supplier in that contract so that if there is a dispute, Alibaba has a record of everything and what the responsibilities of each party are so that they can make a settlement decision. Now, you can use these methods to pay for the initial deposit, and the fees aren't that bad since the payment is relatively small. However, for the remaining balance, the fees can get quite high. So what do you do in this case? Well, if you're comfortable, meaning that you had a product inspection done and it passed, and your supplier has been treating you well, you can pay the balance with a wire transfer. Like I said earlier, it's going to be the cheapest option at around only $10 to $40 depending on your bank. You can also save a ton of money by shopping around for better exchange rates. For example, you can send money using online services like TransferWise that have a much lower fee. You can see here that sending $10,000 to China is only $145. So make sure you do your due diligence. You can save hundreds or thousands of dollars by just doing a little bit of research. And a pro tip, do not try to save money by sending the products to yourself to inspect. Firstly, if anything goes wrong, you've already paid your supplier. And second, it would be cost prohibitive to send the products all the way back to your supplier for them to fix it. I've seen this happen way too often, and in almost all cases, the supplier will not pay for the return shipping, and they'll be difficult to deal with in getting them to fix the problem. All right, and last, always have a professional contract in place when dealing with your supplier. You can download this free purchase contract template that I've put together. It covers all of the necessary details that you'll need to include in your purchase agreement with your supplier, and I'll leave a link to it in the video description below. This template is easy to use. Just replace everything in the square brackets with your own information, and all the text that's italicized are notes for your own reference only, so make sure to delete them before you send the contract to your supplier. The first section covers the production. It specifies the quality and what your supplier is going to manufacture for you, including any customization, modification, or changes. Be specific, don't leave anything out. The next section covers costs. This is the price you've agreed to pay with your supplier. Make sure to enter that here. It also stipulates what happens if there's any delays, such as penalties and fees. If you find that there's any problems with the product, this section stipulates what your supplier needs to do to fix the problem, such as offer the flawed units at a discount, fix the flawed units, or replace the flawed units. This is independent of the product inspection. The next section covers the inspection. I want to be able to see the products during the production process, so I want them to send me photos and videos during the manufacturing process. Photos of the raw materials, production units, labels, packaging, inserts, shipping cartons, etc. Now this section covers the third-party product inspection. Make sure you negotiate with your supplier that you'll pay for the first product inspection, and if it passes, you'll pay the remaining balance of the invoice. However, if it doesn't pass, your supplier needs to fix the problem and pay for the subsequent inspection. The next section covers shipping. Where the shipment is going, what's being shipped, how much the shipping cost is, and the expected delivery time, as well as the details that need to go on the master carton labels. Make sure to edit the details to suit your needs. If you want to save on time, you can include this section where you want your supplier to ship a production unit to your photographer. Otherwise, you can have a unit sent from Amazon to your photographer once your shipment is received by Amazon, but that adds a lot of time to getting your product listing finalized and ready to sell. This section covers the payment agreement. So in this case, 30% upfront and 70% due when it's ready to ship. Again, customize this if the terms are different. And this section is the confidentiality agreement, where they agreed not to disclose any part of this contract or the product itself with anyone. All right, and this last part is where both parties will sign. So make sure you fill in the parts in the square brackets with the correct information for yourself and your supplier. Okay, and that's it. Again, you can find a link in the video description below to download this contract for free. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can find all of my contact details in the video description below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment or question in the comment section below. I answer every single one. And as always, if you found value in this video, consider subscribing. And do me a favor, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help me out, and I'd appreciate it. And make sure you ring that bell so you never miss a future video. Alright? Thanks for watching.